What really happened to the Chiong sisters? In a quiet corner of the Philippines, a chilling mystery has haunted the nation for over 24 years. It's a story that's both heart-wrenching and enigmatic, a tale that refuses to fade from memory. On July 16, 1997, in the serene town of Cebu, the lives of two sisters, Mary Joy and Jacqueline Chiong, took a terrifying turn. They were abducted, subjected to unimaginable horrors, and ultimately met a tragic end. This led to a high-profile trial, where Francisco Juan Paco Laranaga and 6 others were found guilty. Initially sentenced to death, their punishment was later commuted to life in prison. This case has a lot of twists and turns. What really happened on that day? Who was actually part of the crime? Did the justice system do the right things? This story has been in the news for so long because it's sad and confusing, and we still don't know all the answers. The complete story of the missing Chiong sisters, Mary Joy and Jacqueline. The tale of the Chiong sisters, Mary Joy and Jacqueline, began with a regular police report. Mary Joy, aged 21, and her 23-year-old sister, Jacqueline, were nowhere to be found. The two sisters, who were of Filipino-Chinese heritage, had vanished without a trace. Mary Joy had set up plans to meet Jacqueline after her shift at a local internet cafe. Their intention was to spend time together at the Ayala Mall in Cebu City. The family expected them home by 10 p.m., but they never returned. An attempt to find the missing sisters began. However, the police took it lightly since it's not unusual for individuals in their early 20s to be away from home for a couple of days. Yet, the situation took a dark turn when a grim discovery was made. A local resident named Rudy Lasaga from Carcar City contacted the police after finding Mary Joy's lifeless body at the base of a ravine. Subsequent examination revealed a horrifying truth. Mary Joy had been subjected to a gang rape, and evidence suggested she might have still been alive when she was cruelly thrown into the ravine. However, the whereabouts of Jacqueline's body remain a haunting mystery, even up to the present day. The last confirmed sighting of the two sisters was on July 16, 1997, a day that is widely believed to be when they met their tragic fate. Suspects emerge. Despite the scarcity of evidence, potential suspects began to emerge in connection to the case. One significant figure in this story is Pablo Labra II. Labra was assigned to delve into the case. Given the intense pressure from both the media and the public to solve the crime, he took on the task of examining police records. Labra meticulously compiled a list of suspects, which he submitted to the National Bureau of Investigation, NBI, while also personally looking into the matter. A central figure that caught attention, especially from the media, was Francisco Juan Laranaga, known as Paco. His record included past altercations, one of which was reported to the police in 1995. This information was stored in an NBI database, and it eventually played a main role in identifying plausible suspects linked to the Chiong sisters case. Adding to the suspicions, Paco had a separate complaint against him that bore striking resemblance to the Chiong sisters' ordeal. A high school student named Rochelle Vertuccio filed a formal complaint against Paco with the school principal. The incident involved an attempt by Paco to abduct Rochelle and her classmates as they were leaving school. Thankfully, his attempt was thwarted. Paco's prior accusation of a similar kidnapping attempt didn't help his image, especially considering the grave charges he faced anew. Eventually, a total of 7 young men were apprehended and brought to court as the accused perpetrators behind the kidnapping, rape, and disposal of Mary Joy's body. Paco emerged as a prominent face among the accused. His background was noteworthy. His mother was linked to the influential Osmeña family, a prominent clan in Cebu. Even though his family wasn't financially affluent, the association with the Osmeña family, combined with his past experiences with the law, painted a public perception of him as a wealthy troublemaker. Paco, along with the rest of the group, faced murder charges. Eventually, the court modified the verdict to a death sentence by lethal injection on February 3, 2004. However, in 2006, the Philippine government abolished this form of punishment, sparing the lives of the 7 individuals. The courtroom, newspapers, magazines, and the internet became platforms for an ongoing debate about the guilt or innocence of these men. Opinions diverged sharply, with many believing that the justice system was tainted by unfairness and corruption. On the flip side, others upheld the court's decision to condemn them to a life behind bars. Before you form your own judgment, let's delve into the numerous inconsistencies around the case. The first significant blow to the case occurred when one of the accused individuals came forward with a confession. Davidson Ruzha took the stand to outline the sequence of events leading to the tragic fate of the Chiong sisters. Ruzha's account depicted the sisters being snatched from outside the Ayala Center in Cebu. They were forced into a car and driven away. Ruzha, along with the other 6 men, claimed they took the girls to a house where they were subjected to rape. Afterwards, one body was discarded. Ruzha described Jacqueline managing to break free from the group temporarily. However, she was pursued, taunted, and ultimately forced back into the vehicle, where she was brutally assaulted by Rowan. The group then returned to Ayala Center in Cebu, at which point Ruzha separated from the others, claiming he was unaware of Jacqueline's whereabouts due to his departure. The Chiong sister case had a strange turn of events. Ruzha's testimony provided chillingly accurate details about where the sisters' bodies were abandoned, the manner in which they were restrained, and the spot of their abduction. He went so far as to admit his participation in the sisters' rape but distanced himself from their murder. Remarkably, despite his horrifying narrative of that fateful evening, Ruzha emerged as a hero in the eyes of the public. Astonishingly, he was even released from custody, while the other 6 individuals remained behind the bars. Mrs. Chiong's gesture of bringing gifts to Ruzha following his testimony puzzled many. After all, he had just confessed to taking part in the abduction, rape, and murder of her daughters. Ruzha had lived in the United States, which lent him impressive articulation and fluency in English. His attractiveness further swayed public sentiments. The motives behind Ruzha's decision to step forward raised questions. Was it due to police immunity, which allowed him to openly recount the story? Or was he coerced into his testimony through manipulation of some sort? Ruzha admitted to having been subjected to police torture. Fellow detainees within the prison claimed to have witnessed this abuse. But this still changed very little, as there were other witnesses who made statements backing parts of Ruzha's original testimony. It was later revealed that all the witnesses used by the prosecution had been paid, which raises some very big questions about the validity of the entire case. Alternative theories continued to arise. Another theory finds its roots in Cebu. According to this line of thought, Dionisio Chiong, the father of the sisters, was associated with the controversial Cebu businessman Peter Lim. Lim's name had repeatedly been linked to allegations of being a prominent drug lord in the region. Reportedly, Mr. Chiong had a hand in numerous drug operations through his involvement with Lim's trucking business, although he was ultimately dismissed from this position. Before the sisters went missing, Mr. Chiong was set to play the role of a witness in a drug case against his former employer. However, following his daughter's disappearance, he opted not to testify against the unnamed drug lord. It was even alleged that the group of police who arrested Paco were also employed by Peter Lim as bodyguards. This theory prompts intriguing questions. Could Dionisio's daughters' lives have been exploited as a means to coerce him? Did this whole case stem from Peter Lim acting to maintain his freedom? Even more extraordinary claims have been put forth, suggesting that the Chiong sisters might still be living. Internet sleuths on social media have unearthed pictures of individuals who bear a resemblance to the missing sisters. However, it's important to note that these assertions lack substantial concrete evidence. More holes found in the Chiong case. The family and legal team of Paco managed to establish an alibi for him. They presented evidence showing that on the 16th of July, the day of the incident, he was in Manila taking a test. He didn't return to Cebu until the 17th of July, arriving in the evening. Several teachers and fellow students were willing to testify on his behalf. There was even a photograph of Paco with his friends at a drinking session on the night of July 16th. Supported by his friends' confirmation that they stayed up the entire night, as mentioned earlier, the defense believed this evidence would be their key to securing his innocence. However, their confidence ultimately proved to be in vain. Unlike systems with a jury in the Philippines, the judge holds the sole responsibility for determining the case's outcome. Unfortunately, the unusual behavior persisted with Judge Martin Ocampo. The judge appeared to pay minimal attention to the case's details and was even observed nodding off during proceedings. At one point, he even answered questions on behalf of Ruzha during cross-examination. Shockingly, he prevented the school witnesses from taking the stand. Despite their willingness to testify in support of Paco's claims, Mrs. Chiong was an influential woman. She rewarded the policemen involved in seeking justice for her daughters. Her sister, Cheryl Jimenia, who had close ties to President Joseph Estrada, pushed for the case, resulting in increased investigator involvement. Further concerns emerged about the credibility of the key witness we previously mentioned, Davidson Ruja. This only added to the growing list of questionable circumstances surrounding the case. 2 years later, the judge issued a verdict finding all 7 boys guilty and sentenced them to death. While 6 were incarcerated, Ruja was set free. Mrs. Chiong persisted in her fight for a death sentence for the accused, but her efforts were unsuccessful. News later emerged that the judge was found dead in his hotel room, with the death ruled as a suicide. In February 2004, the justice system reversed its stance and handed down a death sentence. Following pleas for assistance from Paco's family, both the Spanish government and the UN intervened. In 2006, the Philippine government abolished the death penalty. In October 2009, Paco was transferred to Spain to serve the remainder of his sentence. He continues to seek parole, but by the time he completes his sentence, he will be 61 years old. The remaining 5 individuals continued to serve their sentences within the Philippines. While 4 of the men initially received parole approval from Felden, this decision was later reversed under the influence of President Rodrigo Duterte's intervention. The Chiong family expressed their gratitude to the president, and as a result, the convicted individuals were returned to confinement. Now that you have the case summary, what are your views on the case? Do you think the guys were guilty, or did the justice system let them down? Leave your theories in the comments.